This is I'll show you the panels you got to take off. I've already done the change of the dash. I just messed up some of the front video, so I'm just kind of putting, so this panel here comes off. It just pops right off. There's one screw back there, and then there's one screw under here before you can pull this whole panel off. That's the only step that's not really included. And then once you have that off, there will be there'll be a screw about here and about here holding this bezel all on, and it just pops right off too. And then it'll just pick up on the video here shortly, and you'll see where it is. But just kind of looking at it and seeing, big difference. I like it a lot. So you'll see the install coming up here shortly. Thanks. Okay, I've taken the two screws on the right off here. You'll see right there. There's one for the gauge cluster, and you'll see one. Let's try to get that in focus way back there. There are two more on the other side that we'll get to. That I've taken this one off here, and then I've got the last one to get down in there. Sorry for the focus there. And it's pretty deep. I would recommend making sure you're either use a magnet screwdriver or do it really slowly and have a means to get it. I guess if you would lose those into the dash, you would probably not get those back or it'd be difficult to find them. And then we're gonna get this taken off here in just a second. All right, so taking the screws out, leaning the dash cluster forward, and then pulling it down. Just be careful so you don't scratch the lenses there. And then I will get to the wiring harness here in a minute and disconnect. Here I have the gauge cover, or the gauge clutcher cover off. And then I have these here. Again, I recommend that, like I showed you before in the car, you have the turn the accessory power on, but don't crank the car. That way you can get an idea of where your fuel is, and I have pictures of mine. I will review those again before I take this off, or take the needles off, and then do it while your car is cool, so that way your coolant needle will always be on cool, and that way you have accurate pictures, so your temperature is not off or your fuel level is not off. But yeah, I would do that for sure. Either draw it, but I would recommend, everybody's got a cell phone nowadays, just take a picture, so that way you have a good reference when you put it back together after we take these needles off. Okay, so I've taken the T15 bits. There's 6 of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I've taken those out, so I'm going to go ahead and gently remove the gauge face there. And I have this on a towel again to keep from scratching the clear face here. We're going to actually be taping, using some manila folder and lots of tape, and taping off and painting the inside of this bezel black, so that way it won't show white with the black faces. I think it'll look really good. This angle here looks a little tough, but we should be able to get to that with some patience and some taping. A lot of prep work. Taking your time, doing the tape work right when you're prepping will make all the difference in the final result you get when your paint results are out. I'll show you some other stuff we've done taped later on the other projects, like the Mustang, and taping out some lettering and some things, and a lot of prep work. Some of it hours, but then the final product is worth it. Okay, the kit comes with this little handy dandy puller here. I'm using it like a microfiber cloth to help. And you just get under there and pull straight up, or at least that's the idea. There we go. And make sure you keep them in order so you know what order you're putting them back in. gentle. These things do not seem very robust. All right. And the next step will be to, it has some tabs you'll see down at the top here, the factory tabs, and around where the needles go in. Okay, so that's that step there. Okay, this is our Speedo kit from US Speedo here. Not a sponsor, just a kit that I thought looked pretty good that I would just go ahead and give a try. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up here in a second and then put it on. All right, so you'll see there's a plastic backing on this here that we're gonna go ahead and take off. And then line up, and it should snap on pretty easily there. Feels like it has a little bit of maybe an adhesive type tacky feel to it, but oh, that was relatively easy. It did come with some pretty detailed instructions, color pictures. Of course, I didn't open those, but YouTube's just as good as that. And then I'm just going to place the needles back on where they are right now, just kind of a general idea, and then we'll adjust them prior to putting it back into the vehicle based on that. All right, that's pretty much the first part of it there. I do like the temperatures and not the cold, hot, so it kind of gives you an idea on temperature. These things move very easily, so again, I guess just getting them set when I get back into the vehicle and get it plugged into the modules just to see, just to make sure I have it in the right spot before I go ahead and put it in, and we'll go from there. Because I think there's a hard stop coming back on those that I should probably adjust to and go from there. Yeah, that one seems to be a pretty good shot, but I think these have moved a little bit, so I'll adjust those before I get in there. So, all right. So the next morning, paint is dry. I did have some bleed through underneath the clear part of the bezel, but this will all be covered by the cover and the dash, so I'm not really worried. What I am happy about is I noticed when Speedy on his video today, he had a little bit of white that's shown where he had taped it. I think, again, the bleed through underneath won't show, but then I won't have that white rim from the side either. But I went ahead and plugged this in before I put the clear shield on the front to check the position of the gauges, make sure they were unchanged. There's the one harness, pin harness over here, and there's two on the left-hand side on the back, and you just plug them in. They go into these grooves here, and easy to get in and out. I'm gonna take it back in the car now that I have the front shield on it, and then replace everything, and then give you an update from there. Okay, this is putting it back together, the opposite of taking apart, obviously. There's 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. These two, be very careful not to lose your screw back into the dash. Seems like it would be tough to get to if you lose it, so we're going to be very careful with that. Now the trim bezel, just the opposite of coming off. I'm just going to snap it back on, and then we'll do the screws on the bottom.